Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to PoorConsult's YouTube channel. In today's video, we're gonna talk about Polkadot. Today, in this video, I'm gonna give you a little bit of a background on Polkadot. I'm gonna bring you up to speed with some of the project's recent developments and help you make up your mind whether it's worth investing your money in or not. Before we get into it, let me tell you right away that nothing that you hear in this video is a financial advice, alright? Always do your own research before investing. I do mine, you do yours, and you and only you are responsible for your actions. Okay, so with that said and out of the way, without losing time, let's get right onto it. Polkadot was founded in 2016 by its co-founder Dr. Gavin Wood. Polkadot raised around 145 million USD in 2017 and an additional 100 million between 2019 and 2020. The second round of sales was to compensate 100 million that got lost due to some compromised ETH wallets after the first round of sale. It never received any post-ICO funding since that time. Its mainnet went live in the summer of 2020 during the bull market, and though it's fully functional, it's still, technically speaking, in the development. Well, it didn't come out in the bull market, it was prior to the bull market several months. So under the hood, it uses proof-of-stake blockchain called Relay Chain, which leverages novel consensus mechanism called nominated proof-of-stake, which is similar to delegated proof-of-stake, but people say it's much better. The Relay Chain can process around 1,000 transactions per second. It's secured by around 300 validators and around 27k nominators, which is similar to delegators. While the hardware requirement is low to become a validator, you must take a minimum of 1.9 million DOT to become a validator. And the minimum amount of DOT required to stake to become a nominator is just 128 DOT. And the staking rewards for provided services are 14 and 15% annually. So we'll post the links to this information down below, so if you need to study it more in details, can always go to that links and find some more additional information about it. Polkadot is a smart contract cryptocurrency. Its Relay Chain has limited smart contract functionality because it only handles transactions related to staking, governance, and standard DOT transfers. Most of Polkadot's smart contract functionality comes from parachains that plug into its relay chain. Okay, so you need to understand it. Note that parachains don't have to use DOT for transaction fees. And I'm going to repeat this one more time, that the parachains don't have to use DOT for transaction fees. Okay, it's very important, why you will understand later on. There are three types of parachains: common good parachains, parathreads, and standard parachains. Because the relay chain can only support 100 parachains, each type of parachain has its own unique purpose and selection process. So, common good parachains are for bridges with other cryptos and are selected via community governments. Parathreads are intended for institutions. Okay, so more economical for blockchains that don't need continuous connectivity to the network and are designed, those parathreads, to bring institutional money into the project. And finally, we have standard parachains, which are intended for other crypto projects and are selected using parachain slot auctions. Projects provide DOT, and they are being selected by taking a snapshot at a random time before the auction ends. Whichever project has provided more DOT wins the auction. So one more time, the standard parachains, which are the most common and widely used ones, are intended for other crypto projects that are selected using parachain slot auctions. All right, so there are different crypto projects that want to operate on Polkadot, so they are being selected, and we're gonna talk about the selection process of other projects. But once they are selected, they can operate on Polkadot, and the process of selection of those projects are called parachain slot auctions. All right, so projects, how do they work, right? How does it work? So projects, they provide DOT, and they are being selected by taking a snapshot at a random time before the auction ends. So to help them, how do we ensure that, how do we decide, how do these projects raise DOT, and then because they need DOT, all right, to provide it to Polkadot to win the auction. Whichever project provides more DOT, then it has higher chances to win the slot. To help them win the parachain slot, most crypto projects will hold something called parachain loan offering, or PLO. And parachain loan offering means their believers, the community, people that trust in that certain crypto project, can delegate DOT to the project. In exchange, they get certain amount of crypto project tokens. All right, so let's say we have a crypto project, we call it Moonbeam. All right, so this Moonbeam project wants to attend the PLO. It wants the parachain slot to be able to operate on Polkadot. So the Moonbeam believers, its community, people like me and you who trust in Moonbeam, we provide our DOT to Moonbeam, so as Moonbeam can use this DOT to win the parachain slot. Okay, and in return, Moonbeam gives us its own tokens. All right, so we earn Moonbeam tokens for free just by providing DOT to it, so as it can use it in order to win the parachain slot. Right, so the PLOs are like ICOs, but unlike them, your delegated DOT that you give to the project, all right, it never goes to them and it's never sold. It's just locked up on their parachain for some time, all right, just locking. When you're providing your DOT to the project, you are not selling it, you are just locking it, and usually the time is 2 years. So they have been around 25, 28, I guess, auctions. More specific details can be found on the website, which I'll post the link down below in the description of the video. So around 28, if I'm not mistaken, auctions have taken place so far, and all of them are estimated to finish in September. Is that in mid-March this year, popular crypto project Engine, it launched this parachain on Polkadot, bringing its massive community of almost 500,000 people to Polkadot's ecosystem. Okay, so if you are not familiar with Engine, you better check it out as well. This is the gaming and NFTs. It has another, like a sister project called the token Affinity. It's called Affinity, EFI, and it's about all NFTs, and it's intending to bring NFTs to Polkadot. So this might be huge, guys, and they won the parachain auction. I mean, they won the slot, okay, to be on Polkadot. The next piece of news is Katie Hone invested 10 million into DeFi protocol on Moonbeam. All right, she invested in Moonbeam, which is also a popular Polkadot parachain, and I talked about it before just a second ago. And Moonbeam uses ETH virtual machine for smart contracts. All right, so this is very significant, guys, because her VC firm secured earlier this year $1.5 billion funding, which means, what does it mean? It means because she's interested in Polkadot, then some of this money one day may find its way to some of Polkadot-based projects, such as Engine, such as Moonbeam. All right, so this entire money, I mean, not entire, but some portion, at least if a small portion of it found its way into the projects that operate on Polkadot, this might have a huge effect. And the next piece of news is coming from Moonbeam, also partnered with liquid staking giant Lido Finance to bring liquid staking to Polkadot, which means it's now possible to stake your DOT without locking it up. And finally, and maybe one of the biggest news was that Arrington, it's like Arrington Capital launched 100 million growth fund for Moonbeam ecosystem. So the fund, in partnership with Moonbeam Foundation, will back new projects and protocols on EVM compatible Polkadot parachain, which is Moonbeam. All right, so on Moonbeam, guys, 100 million capital has allocated to this project. Just think about the numbers, and then maybe I should do another video, a separate video about Moonbeam, I guess, right? So basically you got interested about that project as well. So now let's take a look at the Polkadot's price actions and see what's going on that front. Okay, and if we look at the price action of Polkadot, here we go. Just we'll see that it has quite a poor quite poor price action, and one of the reasons is that the entire market was going down, and since almost all altcoins are quite correlated with Bitcoin, so the price of it had to share the similar effects as Bitcoin did, right? So it isn't possible, at least now, for any of the altcoins to rally to their all-time highs, with Bitcoin being traded at below 23k. Okay, for now we have the CoinGecko's historical data revealing us that Polkadot circulating supply has increased by 55 million in the last 4 months alone, because the average price by then was around $15, so it had experienced more than like 800 million USD selling pressure, but some of it might have been staked, and not sold. So it's clear there was substantial amount of sell pressure on DOT, which you can see exactly on this chart. So the sell pressure wouldn't have been a problem if there was enough demand, but as we are in the bear market, obviously the demand on cryptocurrencies in general and for DOT in particular is not high. So while having this large amount of sell pressure, on the other hand, it did really push the price down, and currently is trading at around $8.5, these low levels. So for now, where's the demand coming from, right? So for now, the demand is coming from individuals and investors who want to take part in parachain slot auctions that we talked a second ago. However, the amount of DOT required for those parachains has gone down as well. The auctions from mid-March to end of May only saw 5.2 million DOT deposited, which you can see right here on this graph, that only 5.2 million DOT got deposited, so these numbers are also going down. The silver lining, however, is that around 15% of DOT supply has been taken out and taken in parachains, which means obviously they will not be circulating on the open markets for at least 2 years. As I told you, that's the average time of the staking period, 2 years. They are taken away from circulation. But if we consider DOT's annual inflation, which is the new DOT being printed out of thin air and pushed into circulation, which is about 7.5% annual inflation for DOT, then the effect of the amount of DOT taken away for staking is definitely less significant, right? So that is another thing. And now we see that the projects have won parachains will definitely facilitate additional demand for DOT, but whether that DOT can eventually have new all-time highs ultimately depends on its own milestones. Yes, the project's development, the milestone, the roadmap of the project must eventually dictate whether the DOT will get away from these price levels and draw for us the new all-time high level. So, first of all, apart the need to pay for its fees, the gas fees, all other smart contract compatible blockchains such as Ethereum, Solana, Binance Smart Chain, they all have stable coins, right? They all have stable coins, BUSD, USDT, USDC. Stablecoins are one significant organic demand drivers in the bear market, especially that doesn't have on Polkadot. All right, Polkadot doesn't have stablecoins yet, even though the rumors go that USDT, the Tether, might get itself on Polkadot soon. But however, even if it does so, even if we see the stablecoins on Polkadot, still no use cause, there is no use, they won't have a direct impact on DOT's price. Why? Because it's not being paid for transaction fees on parachains, which is where the stable coins will probably end up. So if the stable coins end up on the parachains, all right, one of the projects that won the para slot, and if stable coins end up on one of those projects, which is very likely, then in order to transfer those stable coins, they won't be needed to pay the gas fees in DOT, and which is obviously one of the main demand drivers in bear market for Ethereum, for Binance Smart Chain, Avalanche, and all these smart contract compatible blockchains. Imagine when Ethereum hit new all-time highs, where do you think those demand for ETH were coming from? NFTs, right? NFTs and the gas fees associated with NFTs buy and sells. So this is very important thing to consider about. And as I mentioned earlier, the entities behind Polkadot have never had post-ICO fundings. Yeah, in the beginning of the video I told you. So it means that the only way they have to continue funding the ecosystem development is through the sale of DOT. Okay, so just like Matic, and in the next video we'll talk about Matic, but the Matic had the similar problem, I would say, whether you consider it a problem or not, but the funding for the ecosystem development was mostly coming from the sales of its main asset, of its main crypto, Matic and DOT in our case, by the team, okay, by the founders. So this is definitely not good, in the short term at least. And the last barrier for Polkadot might be competition. Solana, Polkadot, and Near are all coded in Rust, so this is important. If Ethereum is in Solidity with other projects, smart contract projects, we have Near, Solana, and Polkadot coded in Rust instead of Solidity, which means they are all fighting for the same pool of developers, which has already shrinked due to the bear market. So Sol and Near have much more capital to attract developers. But then you might ask, what does Polkadot have then? I do think that the brand and the mission might be DOT's biggest edge over their competitors. So I don't know what you do, but me personally, seeing these graphs, seeing these low price levels of DOT, I do remember myself thinking about buying DOT at these levels, which was trading at around $30, $25, and back then I wish I could have bought it because I knew about DOT. I learned about this project when it was trading at around $5, $6 back in 2020, at the end of 2020. And I did regret a lot not buying the coin back then. However, here we go. Once again, we are trading at these levels, and whether to buy Polkadot or not depends on your vision of the project, whatever you think might happen in the long run. And if you do believe in the project, if you see some future for this project, which me personally I do, and I do have now DOT in my portfolio, so you can come up with your own decision to buy it or not. So that's all, guys, for today's video. Obviously, again, nothing you heard about is a financial advice. You do yours, I do mine. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so as you don't miss future videos. Thanks a lot and have a nice day. Goodbye.